I've been riding since I was 16 legally, and maybe before that time, not so legally, but always riding motorcycles. I'm a filmmaker and photographer. I've had the great opportunity over the years to work for the motor company and do some really wonderful cross-country stories north to south, east and west across the good old USA. Riding is a big part of my life. I've ridden Sportsters, Dynas, Softails, and it's my therapy. It's the way I kind of relax and get my head straight. So let me share this story with you. It won't take long, and it's a life changer for me, and I thought that's why I wanted to share it with you. So my wife and I were on our way over to see our dentist in Columbus, New Mexico, and we stopped at a little roadside stop, and actually to let go of some of that coffee that we'd had in the morning. And I wasn't paying attention, and I tripped and fell. We're about 60 miles from home. And lo and behold, kind of a silly thing, I had a carabiner like a lot of us do with a lot of keys on the side of my hip, and I fell directly on that. And that was it. I broke my hip big time. I'd never broken anything. I've been really fortunate. Never been in the hospital, so I've been really fortunate in that way. So anyway, fast forward on the whole thing, didn't know what to do, and yet I didn't want to give up my decision-making process. So my wife was good enough to load me in the car. We stopped at a gas station, got some Tylenol, and headed 60 miles back to Las Cruces, where we live. Meanwhile, I'm on the phone Googling, trying to figure out what the hell do I do? Where do I go? And thanks to good neighbors, they suggested a certain hospital. So we rolled in there, went to the emergency. The folks were great. And the ER doc, young gal, fantastic. She checked me all out, did the x-rays. I was in major pain, without a doubt. I knew something was up. And so basically what happened was that she came in and I said, hey, can I just get a set of crutches and go home? And she goes, I only wish I could give you a set of crutches and send you home. You've got a major traumatic break of your hip, and it's going to have to be taken care of. Well, that in itself was quite a message. And yet at the same time, I knew, hey, I got to get this taken care of. So fast forward, a really good doc came in, and the very first thing I asked the doc, very top of my list, was, hey, will I be able to ride again? And I said, I ride motorcycles, and it's a big part of my life. And I said, I'm 78 years old. I said, but I try to keep myself in shape so that I can ride and enjoy myself. He looked at me and he said, you know what? You can, but it's going to be up to you. Had the surgery and came home a day later, and that was a big game changer because all of a sudden, you know, I was on a walker. I couldn't even, you know, use a cane or anything. Could barely move around. And my family, bless their heart, whew. Excuse me. Give me just a second. My family, bless their heart, my daughter flew in, rolled up the rugs, got the house cleared out, made it, you know, accessible so that I could get myself into the house. So that was a true gift for her to do that. So then the process really began, and I think one of the main things that was really big for me was all of a sudden I was basically an independent guy. You know, I had been very independent, and all of a sudden, you know, I have to give up everything. I literally can't move around by myself. Obviously can't go to the bathroom by myself. Can't get in the shower. The list goes on and on. So it was quite a difficult and challenging thing, to say the least. My wife, bless her heart, was the trooper that kept the whip there, you know, to get me going, get me in and out of bed, the whole thing. So 4 weeks go by, and I went back for the first 4-week checkup, and this is a complete hip replacement on my left side. And the doc did the x-rays, and he said, you know, you're looking good. I think you should start PT. From that point forward, I did about 8 weeks of PT, and those people were incredible. I did PT, you know, 3 times a week, hour and a half each session, in basically everything, to really work things out and get things moving. I want to take just a step back and talk about that moment when I came back home from the hospital the first time. Of course they send you home with meds, and they sent me home with some painkillers. I made a personal decision. I took myself off of that and just started doing Tylenol. Second thing that was really important was to get my head straight. And I always say, get rid of the white noise. There's a lot of white noise that goes around. And there's a voice in there the whole time, hey, you'll never ride again. You can barely walk. You can't even get out of the house, much less go up and down a step. How in the hell are you ever going to do these things again? And I made the decision to tell the white noise to be quiet. To help me with that, I found what I would call a quiet place. And we're close to the Oregon Mountains here that are incredible. And so that was my quiet place, a quiet place to go connect with nature, and that's part of my soul and part of my being. That was incredibly important, and the family support, as I said earlier, was awesome. So I've been riding Harleys, for a long, long time, and I got to a point where I thought maybe I need a lighter bike, maybe something that's just a little easier to kick around. I love the Sportster line. I've ridden them all across the country. I know it's a smaller bike for a lot of people, but man, it just is like riding a motorcycle for me. So I had just purchased the thing, and I had 200 miles on it when I had the incident with the hip. So here I am, not knowing whether I can ride, have got basically a brand new bike, 200 miles, and so I get a cover, have my wife put the cover on it, and I get stabilizer and I put in the tank and let it set. That was a tough thing, a really tough thing. I got to the point where every 2 weeks, week and a half, I'd come out in the garage, fire it up, and make sure it was still running okay. The other big thing is walk, 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 walk. You have to keep walking. You have to keep all these muscles going. And it takes a lot of determination to say, hey, this is the end of the game for me. So for me, the main thing was, how do I feel comfortable on the bike again? So I put it on a bike stand, and finally, I got to the point where I could swing my leg over and kind of get in the saddle, barely, but kind of. So I just kept working on that. I kept practicing in the garage, practice. Finally, I got it on it. I said, hey, that's cool. I'm in good shape. I can definitely get on the bike. And then guess what? All of a sudden I realized I couldn't get my feet up on the pegs. I couldn't bend my leg to get my feet up fully on the pegs as quickly and as safely as I wanted to. So what was my solution? Practiced up and down, up and down, up and down with my legs. And I'd come out the garage, I'd sit on the bike, and I'd do a count of 20, up and down. Left leg, up and down, right leg, until finally it started to loosen up and things just started to feel more and more normal. Practice pushing the bike around the garage just to get the feel of it again, just to feel comfortable, real comfortable. The next step was I pushed out of the garage and I duck walked back into the garage, pushed out of the garage, duck walked back into the garage. I felt like, man, it's time to push off and get in the street and see how it feels. And I did, just around the neighborhood, really slow and easy, like no more than second gear, not getting crazy. And, I did that a couple of times and I thought, man, I'm back in the saddle. It was probably the most incredible feeling, of being able to get back on the bike. There were a lot of things that went on that are really important that I also want to share during this whole time period. That is, your body is healing, and it's really going through a healing process. So what do you need to do? What did I need to do? I'm not telling you what to do. What did I need to do? I needed to make sure that I had good food, a good diet. I have a wife who's like right on top of that. Lots of protein, and I could tell I would just be hungry for it. And those are the things that go back and feed the nutrients back into our bodies. But I firmly believe that was just a huge part of my healing process. So here I am, 6 months to the day that I had the incident. It's hard to believe. It was like, hey, life stood still, And then all of a sudden it started to move forward. And as it moved forward, it seemed like there were little milestones, you know, silly things. I mean, you know, I couldn't even get my socks on, I couldn't get my shoes on, I couldn't tie my shoes, you know. And so I had these things where I could pull my socks on and, you know, finally big old long shoehorn to get my shoes on. And then, oh my God, just trying to tie them was quite an experience. But those were milestones. And, you know, my stepson, he's a bike rider as well. And he kept telling me, he says, you know, make them milestones, make them milestones. And so that's what I did. And give yourself a treat. It's like, hey, I had a milestone today. It's time for a cold beer. But more importantly, it's time for me, it was time to give thanks for that healing. And whoever you happen to give thanks to, I mean, that's your personal thing. You know, for me, it's a great mystery, the great creator and the grandfathers, and they're always there. And, you know, all I got to do is reach out a bit and talk to them. And they come through with some incredible medicine. So that's it in a short version. And I wanted to share it with you because I've heard of people that, you know, have an incident, something happens, and then they give up. You can't give up. You've got to just keep working on it. And, you know, as I said, again, I'm going to reaffirm, I'm 78 years old, so I'm no spring chicken. But I was bound and determined not to stop writing. So when I was on one of my stories for Harley that I did for Hog Magazine, came across Standing Rock Reservation, and I found this card at a gas station, and it was called Buffalo Wisdom. And I'd like to share that with you because it kind of sums up, you know, the whole thing. So here's a little Buffalo Wisdom I'd like to share with you. Cherish wide open spaces. Stand your ground. Have a tough hide. Keep moving on. Have a strong spirit. Let the chips fall where they may. And mostly roam wild and free. So thanks for listening. Thanks for allowing me to share my story with you. And get out there. Be strong. Be safe. Get your knees in the breeze and enjoy the ride. Thanks. It's good talking with you.